This overview is of my software for two-stroke design and modification. They are designed to run on Excel or LibreOffice. The Excel version, about half of them have macros which help speed up the process, less entering in and going through the steps to get the result. And the LibreOffice version does not have the macros. This is my squish velocity calculator. After you enter in all the data into the light blue cells, it gives a recommendation of the velocity, the squish velocity, the squish volume, and it shows you with the clearance you have and the width of the squish band and the angle of it, what the volume is and what the velocity is. This graph shows that in this case the velocity is just a tad lower than what it should be. The volume is a tad higher than what it should be. The ratio is a little bit higher than it should be, and the detonation risk is very low. This is a must-have program. This is the porting calculator. You can either let the program calculate an exhaust port given the widths and the stroke and how many ports it has. This is showing the main port and one of the two auxiliary ports. This right here is if you want to manually measure the width of the port every 1 millimeter down and enter those here. That's the most exacting way to do it. But the difference between that and the calculated guess is often not worth worrying about. A few more inputs right here, and then the clicking the calculate button gives you a graph. This is showing the delivery ratio and where it starts to drop off. This is showing the overlap of the exhaust pulse and the opening of the transfers. Both are explained well on my website. And this is the horsepower, which is not bowed up as much as you normally see on a dyno because it's not including the effects of the dynamic compression boost from the pipe. This program is very good and it helps to save you a lot of time. It keeps you from wasting cylinders. You can input different port heights, click calculate, and see what happens with the delivery ratio and the horsepower, and just keep playing with it until you find something you like, and then stick with that, and then make it a reality on your cylinder. This is the jetting calculator. It has 6 sheets. If you look here at the bottom left, the first one's for Mikuni VM and TM. The second one is for Mikuni TMX. Third one is for Keyhine, all the different models they have. Next one is Del Orto, all the different models. Old carburetors. And the last sheet helps you determine the air velocity, which is the maximum air velocity, which is what you need to enter into each of the sheets. So just following the website, you just do the measurements, enter in the values, and the jetting will be graphed. You see here it goes a little bit lean. This is from 1/8 slide open all the way to fully open. The 1.0 line is perfect jetting. So this indicates with the blue line that it goes below that. It's a little bit lean here and it's a little bit rich here. So by changing the needle height, you can see what difference that makes. You can try different needles. Up here's the needle number, or There's this section right here for needles also. And usually below you get descriptions and details on each needle that the program can handle. And if you want it to handle a needle that's not entered into the program, you have to enter the data yourself in this section right here. Great program. Fantastic program. I was stumped with my AX100 and the Mikuni 20 until I figured out by using the very first version of this calculator that the needle was not the correct one for the bike. As often happens, the manufacturer will put in the cheapest needle available to them instead of the correct needle. Great program. This is the fuel oil ratio calculator. Lots of oils have already, and their data have already been entered into the program. You can see here on the left hand column what oils are there. Then you get the section right here for entering in oils that aren't already in the program. I tell you how to find their data. This column right here shows you the fuel oil ratio that is being recommended by the program. The main thing it goes by is the engine heat, which you pretty much know from the heat range of the spark plug, which you enter right here. And in this column it shows you the ounces of oil to add per gallon gas. And if you switch to metric, it'll tell you how many milliliters of oil to add per liter of gas. Got a remixing calculator. Gives interesting graphs down here. It's a good program because the ratio that's needed is dependent upon the engine heat, which you know from the spark plug heat range, and the oil viscosity at the estimated engine heat. So using an additional program on the internet, I was able to find out the 150 degree and 200 degree viscosities, and usually somewhere between those two extremes, according to the spark plug range, the temperature can be guesstimated, and then the viscosity of the oil can be calculated, and then using that the ratio is obtained. This eliminates the guesswork of what ratio to use. Good program. Carbs should be sized by the air velocity that they give, which depends upon the engine size and the maximum RPM. And then, because the air velocity determines the fuel droplet size, which affects the power. So this calculator shows the smallest to the largest recommended size of carburetor to use, from street and trail use to racing. Very basic, but something that I haven't seen available on the internet yet. And it takes the guesswork out of sizing the carburetor for your race bike. The boost bottle calculator can be used to size your own homemade boost bottle, because the size affects the resonant RPM of the boost bottle. And also important to that resonance is the hose size with its length and diameter. The boost bottle was invented by Yamaha in order to counteract the pre-power band power dip that engines without power valves have. I used this to make my own boost bottle for my AX100, and it did exactly what I thought it would. Usually the steeper the baffle cone on the expansion chamber, the more power dip you have before it gets on the pipe. This is my crank balance calculator, which can be used for 2-stroke or 4-stroke. After entering in all the engine data, measuring and weighing all the different components, this is the data entry for the holes in the crank wheels. And then you click the calculate button and it gives you a graph here, which the end graph of the end RPM should be somewhat between 97% and 100%. This is unique because it takes all the weights and at the different RPM calculates the centrifugal force and the inertial force and combines those all together to give a final graph, which is this right here. And the idea being not to let it become too vertical or not let it become too horizontal. Vertical being in line with the cylinder and horizontal being 90 degrees off. All these are the calculations. Every 15 degrees of the crank rotation. There's other programs that do the same thing, but they cost over 10 times as much as this one does. This is a fantastic program. This is the program that took me 5 years to create. Yes, I am a persistent bastard. So you enter in the engine data, you enter in the existing pipe data, the lengths of the different sections, the diameters, and you also on sheet 4 enter in the porting information. On sheet 2, the information about the diffuser cone. And on sheet 3, it uses its return wave simulator to graph the diffuser wave and the baffle wave. And at different RPM, those waves occur at different timings according to bottom dead center, transfer closing, and exhaust closing. So using a complex formula, taking in the values of the return waves throughout the different RPMs, it's able to come up with a power graph, which is this one right here. It's the pipe power. So it shows you the breadth of the effect of the pipe and the height and the shape. So you can take note of that. You can store that information by clicking on one of these macros, which puts it right here. Go back to sheet 1, make some changes. Sheet 2, come back here, click autograph again. If you like it, go ahead and store it in the next macro. And then when you're done with the design on sheet 4, you're able to enter in the length of the cone and the beginning and the end diameter, putting the information out here, and it'll tell you how to draw that out on paper. Using these lengths, this chord length, and then using a ruler marking that same distance. You just make a dotted line and then you connect that with your marker. Same thing here, dotted line, connect it with the marker, and then you cut out this gray pattern right here, and then you put that on top of the sheet metal. mark around it, and then cut it out on those markings. And then you curve it and make a cone out of it, and then weld it up. I've got some videos on the subject. It's really not hard. This saves a lot of trial and error with pipe making. I highly recommend this program. I've used it to make a lot of pipes. Very, very good. Okay, some people don't have Excel on their computer. Some people don't want to mess with it. If there's any of these programs that can help you, but you don't want to mess with it on your computer, you can pay me to do it for you. All you got to do is give me the details that are necessary for the program. So you can contact me at this email or on Facebook, on Messenger, which can be text or a telephone call. So I hope to hear from you soon. Take care.